Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle, the podcast for high performers who've gone all in, but still feeling a little stuck. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, coach, speaker, and creator of the Prime Performance Process. If you're a solopreneur, small business owner, or just launched your side hustle and you're tired of grinding with no momentum, this is for you. Every week, we bring you guests that have broke the code, generated momentum, and finally got unstuck. And we're diving into their stories, their struggles, and their secrets to generating massive momentum in both their personal and professional lives. We don't do fluff here. We do frameworks, real talk, and share the kind of insights that get you unstuck for good. Welcome, and let's get rolling. But before we dive in, I gotta remind you, if you're overwhelmed, spinning your wheels, or just tired of hustling without the results, it's time for a Prime Performance Strategy session. In this free call, we'll zoom out on your life and business, identify the real reason you're feeling stuck, and build a game plan to help you reclaim your confidence, energy, and gain some clarity so you can get back to doing what you set out to do. Lead, grow, and thrive. This isn't surface level coaching. It's a system built on resilience, intentionality, clarity, and alignment. So head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to grab your spot today. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Let's get going and help you look good, feel good, and do great things. What's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. Today, I'm super excited because we are joined by Ellen Silverman. We recently connected via social media, and she had a pretty interesting story that I'd love to kind of dive into. So Ellen, welcome to the show. I'm amped that you're here and excited to kind of dive into hearing about your background and such.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And it was cool. We were chatting just before we started recording. We're essentially neighbors, just like a quick train ride away from each other. Ellen's down in New York City, one of, if not the greatest cities in the world. And her background's all in real estate. And she's just the go-to person to kind of touch base when you're looking to buy and sell and so much more. So I'm excited to kind of dive in. Ellen, where did you, and what brought you to real estate in the first place?
Yeah, great question. My background is mostly banking and finance, but I did that for a very long time until it really wasn't fun anymore, and it was really time to go. I've always loved real estate. I am a native New Yorker, and I bought and sold my own apartment about 3 or 4 times in New York on my own. I've always wanted to be a homeowner. And I love interior design and architecture. I love New York City, and I have good financial skills. So all those things led me to go and select a career in real estate after about 30 years on Wall Street.
Yeah, that's crazy. 30 years on Wall Street is a pretty strong stint down there, and it's a great transition for you, especially with all the things that you're enjoying and loving. And interested to hear you said you were born and raised in New York.
Yes.
Yeah, powerful place. And so what was it like growing up? Obviously, things have kind of changed in the city over the years, especially as you said you bought and sold your apartment multiple times. And I'm guessing that's through the course of your career, not just when you switched over into real estate, right?
Correct. Yes. I started, my first apartment was in 1995 while I was working in banking. But yes, to answer your first question, New York City was completely different in the 60s and 70s when I was growing up here. And I feel like it was a whole different life, a whole different chapter. Sometimes I feel like I've had 5 different lives. New York at that time was pretty much a rental city. There weren't co-ops and condominiums back then. Everybody rented, and it was more of a middle-class city. And I think that's probably the case with many cities in the United States. We didn't see the crazy surge in real estate values until around the 80s and 90s and 2000s. But growing up here was completely different. But I think as a city kid, you learn how to navigate New York, how to walk, how to avoid trouble, how to ride the subways, how to maneuver, how to get around. And, you kind of understand, you have an innate understanding of the city where you can have really good and really bad neighborhoods 2 blocks apart. That's how New York is. There's thousands of neighborhoods and all different kinds of people living in one island. So you just get used to that. So those were good skills to have in real estate.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like to be successful in real estate, you've got to have a lot of like personality, people skills. You got to be able to communicate and network and really getting out there. I don't know too much about the banking realm, but when I hear finance and banking, I'm thinking numbers, more analytical and
Yes.
kind of like mathematics and kind of keeping to yourself. So I would almost assume that they would be kind of two different sides of the spectrum. So like like I'm guessing you developed those skills just from going out, being around a lot of people, or was there somebody that kind of taught you how to be more personable and connect on deeper levels? Or because I imagine you would originally just sitting behind a desk all day, just crunching numbers and doing different things like that.
Yes. No, banking isn't really known for its people skills, although especially when I was in banking. I mean, now I would imagine things have definitely improved. But yeah, I mean, I always say I'm an introvert in a sales job. And I definitely was always kind of a math nerd and in high school and college. And as an analyst, you're correct. You're sitting behind a desk and you're crunching numbers and you're meeting deadlines, and that's that. So I think though I had a lot of innate knowledge about New York and I really loved real estate. So I think my passion kind of took over some of the shyness, that I had or lack of people skills that I had. I'm also very good one-on-one with people. I'm not one for speaking in a crowd or giving speeches or anything like that. But one-on-one, I'm very very good, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I'm an only child, and growing up, I was always looking for friends. So I was in a way outgoing in that sense because I was always looking for friendships. I think as an only kid, you know how to be alone, but I always wanted friends. So that I think is a skill that has helped me in real estate. Learning
Mm.
to, I don't want to say be friends with my clients, but at least learning to have conversations and understanding who they are and asking questions.
Yeah, I love that. Really developing the skill and ability to really connect with other individuals. And I can relate to that pretty well. I wasn't an only child, but I was an older brother to my younger sister, and my parents got divorced at a young age, and that caused me to move around a couple different school districts. So I was constantly always trying to make new friends and maintain friendships. And then when we finally established our town that we were going to call home, which is upstate New York near Poughkeepsie, we my mom started dating somebody and eventually ended up getting married, and then I became the middle child to an older stepbrother. So then that moved me to the middle child and those things that go with that, but then still navigating friendships and developing and that whole process of being able to kind of connect and reading people and learning how to have better conversations, asking better questions and all of this sort. And it really has paid off to be great for myself in my coaching career through the years, because those are skills that a lot of people don't have. And I feel like a lot of people are losing those skills nowadays because of social media and how connected we are and how easy it is to connect and talk, but how disconnected we really are on an actual level. I go to a lot of networking events nowadays where people are just like, here, take my business card. And then nobody ever actually like introduces themselves or anything like that. So I want to get your take. Like, do you see a lot of people struggling to connect at different networking events and open houses and stuff? I would imagine you're going to a lot like that.
Yeah, open houses are okay. I mean, people are there to see the apartment and learn about the building and the amenities and the apartment. So that and I'm selling and I'm showing and explaining. So that part is not a problem, but my phone never rings anymore. This does not ring. But I'm getting, text messages. I deal with a lot of foreign investors, so they love the WhatsApp to
Hmm.
communicate. And so I'm constantly on WhatsApp and texts and direct messages from Facebook and Instagram. And that's how people are communicating. Even email seems to be a little archaic. It's crazy, unless there's a big attachment I have to send. But the phone seems to be such a disruption for people. Even when I have to make calls, it's people really don't want to talk. They're like, "Can you please text me?" And I'm like, "Okay, fine." It's fine. But yeah, I mean, I do feel there's communication is really suffering, and also just face to face meetings. Having coffee or lunch, or even with my own friends. It seems like nobody really wants to meet anymore, and I also think the pandemic had a big impact on how we're socializing and how we're relating with one another. And I think there's a big crisis going on with isolation and loneliness. I think there's a big epidemic going on in this country, or maybe the world, for all that you know that there's has been a breakdown of communication and relating with each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that a lot with a lot of my clients and friends and people that I'm kind of connecting with and sharing with like my content and things that I teach is a lot of people are struggling with isolation and not understanding who their team is and who they can call on and who they can lean on for support, and even who they can just go to for more advice and such like that. And I'm a big fan of hiring a coach or finding a mentor. I've got three or four coaches myself for different things, whether it's my speaking coach, my branding coach, or even just like my communication and leadership kind of coach. I got different coaches for everything, and it's really important because I've gone through a lot of different coaching programs and worked with people that weren't so great. So it's been difficult to find good people over the years, and I'm interested for you through your banking world and then shifting into real estate. Did you have any kind of mentors or role models that kind of led you or showed you kind of the way, or how did you make your way through?
Seat of the pants. I banking, it was just head down, do your job, work hard. I went to really good schools, so I knew how to work hard and I knew how to get things done. And but it was really just adapting to a very regimented environment in the banking world. And I think in some way those skills definitely helped me with real estate, because I am very disciplined and I do treat my business like a job. And there are things I do every single day, and I do meet my deadlines. I mean, they're self-imposed, so I'm good at that. Um but it's I think with real estate, you're always sort of, you are kind of isolated because you don't know who to trust. It's a business where you have to watch your back and you don't want to share too much with other agents. And so it is a little lonely. Um uh, yeah, and how do you get around that? I have a video coach that I use for to help me get out of my shyness for videos. And I do have a few friends that I will talk to about how to handle difficult deals. But yeah, I mean, it isn't easy. I mean, it is kind of a being self-employed is a lonely game. It can be. Yeah.
Yeah, and you said something great there before when how your career in banking really allowed you to develop the discipline and the grit, resilience to kind of handle it. As I imagine that comes as like a huge bonus for you because much like a lot of entrepreneurial solopreneurs, small businesses, realms, there are a lot of ups and downs, whether you're working with a client and then they decide to stop working any further, or you have somebody who's interested in a property and then they maybe change their mind or switch it around. So I imagine there's a lot of ups and downs, and it's tough to kind of stick it through, especially when you're starting out and getting your feet off the ground. So I'm interested.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a numbers game. I mean, I do listen to a lot of YouTube videos by the top real estate experts. I listen to Barbara Corcoran a lot. I listen to Ryan Serhant a lot. I listen to Robert Refkin. I listen to a lot of, podcasts from other real estate agents so I can hear their day-to-day issues. Um, but yeah, I think that you have to treat this like a job, like at least 9 to 5 job every day.
Yeah, and I love that you're listening to a lot of other,
Oh, yeah.
great people because that's like a easy source of motivation, inspiration. It allows you to relate to other problems and situations. Part of the reason why I started this podcast, right? To connect with other entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, side hustlers, people who are starting new projects so that my audience and my clients can also connect, relate, and then hopefully grab a couple tips and tricks from the guests and seeing how they're handling different challenges and solving different problems for that. And shifting right into real estate is tough right off the bat. So, what were some of the things that you were going through when you made that decision, or what was some of your thought process when you were like, okay, this is what I want to do now? Was it a little scary at first, or were you like super excited and diving right in?
Yeah, I mean, of course it was scary. I made sure I went to work for brokerage firms, real estate firms that had very, very good training. Um, and I also went to a lot of educational courses at the Real Estate Board of New York. That's our, um, I guess, sort of like our, that they set a lot of policy and rules and they do a lot of education for New York City agents. So I kind of immersed myself in a lot of learning and education. And it took a while before I landed my first deal. It definitely did. And I've been at Compass 6 years, and Compass definitely gives us a lot of tools to help us generate leads. So I finally found a really good company that um, really helps us grow our business. And that has helped. But yeah, the beginning was scary, and I had savings to fall back on, and I certainly did. I I don't, I don't, it wasn't probably the smartest thing to do, but I had no choice. I had to pay my bills.
Yeah.
So, and I had savings to do it. So I guess I should feel lucky that I had resources at the beginning of this career. And I was lucky. I, for anyone who wants to dive headfirst into self-employment, I would say make sure you have at least 6 months of savings in the bank because the money will not come immediately. I just don't. That would, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, especially with today's like society. Everybody has that instant gratification and they want to have the results and they want to reap the benefits of everything almost immediately, but oftentimes forget that there's a lot of work that has to go into it. You said that you chose a firm or brokerage that had a good reputation. They gave you a lot of tools. That doesn't mean that they're just going to give you a lot of opportunity right off the bat. You still have to create the opportunity yourself. And earlier in the our conversation, you had shared that you also went to some good schools and things like that to really help you set up for the banking world and realm like that. I'm interested to hear like how do you go through your research process on for maybe finding schools, but also deciding on which firm or brokerage was a good fit for you? Because I imagine there's a lot of great ones out there. How do you? Because that's a question I always had for me, for myself at least, when I was looking for good coaches. Like, okay, how do I know this is a good coach, and how do I know that they're trustworthy and they'll be able to set me up the best way possible?
Yeah. Well, um, yeah. Well, New York City has about eight major brokerage firms that are
Mm,
the largest and biggest and have good reputations. When at the time when I was doing my license, I was at the New York City Real Estate School, something like that. And a lot of the firms would come and talk to us about their brokerage firms and the training that they would provide. So, in that way, I learned a lot. And I also knew, just from being my own buyer and seller real estate, I knew who the major firms were. And I also
mm.
had friends in real estate. So, I think it wasn't that difficult to figure out, who the better, who are the better firms, which firms do provide the best training. And I also and I interviewed a lot of places. So, because you have to, not every firm is for you. It's sort of a personality fit. And I think it takes time to figure out the right fit. Um, there were certain companies that were fantastic, but they weren't right for me.
Hmm.
So it's like a job interview, it's a give and take. And I think the same thing applies to finding the right coach.
Hmm.
You have to like each other. You have to feel like you can ask questions and be yourself and that they can help you and you can be honest about, the things that you're working on.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's always a right fit for the coach, for the individual, for everything too. And um, so if somebody's listening and they're interested, like in selling or buying or something like that, how does that individual know, or how do they identify where to find a good realtor or a good brokerage firm?
Oh, well, I think it maybe a lot of it depends on what they're looking for.
Mm,
If there's someone looking for a very high-end property, then I would, how would I go about that? I guess I would start my search. I would actually go online and go on Street Easy. That's our MLS for New York City. And do a search on the type of apartment you're looking for. And from there, you'll see the listing broker. So I would kind of look for the apartment first rather
mm,
than look for the right broker. But you can also Google New York City agents and see who pops up. And you can certainly research brokers. It's very easy. They all have biographies on their company's website. A lot of brokers now have their own websites, and a lot of brokers are on social media, on Instagram. So you can certainly get a sense of the personality, the type of properties they're selling, um, you know, whether you feel you could have a good working relationship with that person.
mm.
I
So Yo, what's up? Sorry for interrupting. It's me, Rob. If you've been listening and thinking, man, I just know I'm capable of so much more, but something's just really not clicking, well, I've got something for you. It's called the Prime Performance Personality Quiz. And in just a few minutes, you'll uncover what's actually slowing you down. So, whether it's a mindset block, energy drain, or a lack of clarity, this quiz is going to give you specific insights to help you build momentum again. Again, this quiz is free, fast, and honestly, freakishly accurate. So take it now over at survivingthesidehustle.com/quiz and stop spinning, start winning today. I've rented essentially my entire professional career, and so I'm not really familiar with how it kind of works about going with it. So if I'm looking to get into it though, and I'm looking for a property and I see one broker listed, is so that's essentially that property is for that broker specifically, or like, so what differentiates between the brokers? How does a broker even get a particular property?
Yeah, well, the brokers that are attached to listings are sales brokers and they represent the seller.
Hmm.
Um, you can also, if you want to be represented as a buyer, then you would have to find a buyer's broker.
Hmm.
And that you would have to research brokers. And how would one find a good buyer's broker? Well, maybe I would research the top brokers in a particular neighborhood that you're interested in,
Hmm.
or I would go and look on Compass or any of the top companies of New York and research brokers that way. Um, many brokers specialize in specific areas of the city. So
Hmm.
that would be probably the best way to start because they would know the neighborhood, the inventory, what's selling, what isn't selling, what's going to be coming to market. That'd probably be your best bet is to go by which neighborhood you're most interested in.
Oh, interesting. And which neighborhoods and areas are you particularly most involved with?
Yes, I'm most involved with Upper West Side in Manhattan, parts of Harlem, as well as Midtown West around Columbus Circle. Those are like my three main areas.
Mm. And you said something a second ago about some brokers understanding upcoming properties and when they're becoming available. How do brokers know when that happens? Is it just from the relationships with different individuals?
Yes. Well, Compass has private exclusives, which means listings that are not advertised on Street Easy. And
Uh,
those are with brokers that have clients that do not want to advertise to the open market yet. Or there's also brokers that work with landlords, and the landlords will say, hey, in a month, I'm going to have X, Y, and Z rentals on the market in September, but I haven't listed them yet. So
mhm.
having good relationships with brokers will give you an inside uh, view of listings that are going to be coming to market soon. Yes.
Interesting. Very cool. So what's it like when somebody works with you? So I kind of paint the picture for myself. Like someone comes to you and they're like, "Hey, Ellen, I'm interested in real estate. Where do I even kind of begin? I'm looking to buy something or I'm looking to sell." What does the whole process look like working with a realtor or yourself?
Yeah, well, I would take them through an interview. I have a list of questions. The top questions are: what is your budget? What size apartment are you looking for? Who's the apartment for? What is the purpose of the apartment? Is it a primary residence, or is it a pied-à-terre or a investment property? Do you have pets? Because some buildings don't allow dogs and cats. What neighborhood are you most interested in? What kind of amenities do you want and need? And what are your must have features of the apartment? For instance, I got to have light. I've got to have high ceilings. I have to have a washer dryer. That's a very big thing in New York City,
Yeah,
washer dryer. I
air
have to have a
conditioning.
dishwasher. So I take them through a series of questions, and then I would do a lot of research. I would check various databases and create a collection of listings and send them to the client and see how they feel about what is on the market.
Mm,
And then we would go and look, because the only way to really understand real estate is by looking and doing and seeing. And, it's not good to do it online remotely. It's really tough. I mean, I have a lot of people that buy remotely because they're living in parts of Asia. But it's really better to be here, boots, feet on the ground, and go and look, because I could show you the most fantastic photos, but yet being physically in a space is a whole nother dimension. And you have to feel it. It's very emotional. I mean, does the space feel good? It might feel good to me, but it might feel horrible to someone else for whatever reason. Maybe they don't like the view. Who knows?
Yeah, that's so true, and I see that a lot too because since the pandemic, a lot of people were shifting to virtual. So speaking at a lot of different conferences is really cool. It's great. You still see a lot of faces, but you definitely miss the energy and the vibe and the whole sense of being there and the just everybody around and everything. And I imagine it's the same too. Like it's cool looking at pictures and things online, but it's definitely not a replacement for actually physically being there and getting a
Yeah,
feel for the whole
absolutely.
thing.
And also the neighborhood. I mean, Hudson Yards is a very up and coming upscale neighborhood of New York City. It's all the way on the west side, but you have to walk through some pretty shady blocks to get there. And a lot of buyers, once they did that walk, were like, I'm not spending $5 million on this condo, but I have to walk through these blocks that I don't feel safe in. And to me, they're fine with me. I'm a native New Yorker. I'm used to whatever craziness is on 8th Avenue, in near Madison Square Garden. But, a lot of people are it's unsettling. They don't want it. And so it's not just buying an apartment, you're buying the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
What are some common mistakes or situations or things that people getting into real estate or buying or selling their first property might not think about?
Yeah, in New York, it's really the apartment, the building, the neighborhood, and then what's around the neighborhood. Is it close to subways? Is it close to a park? Is it close to food shopping? Because everyone in New York is in a hurry. Everything has to be very accessible. So,
Yeah, are you saying a lot of individuals fall kind of into just the spot and then they lack the awareness of everything else around them? So you're saying like think bigger picture if you're thinking about buying something.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm interested to hear what do you see out there? Like what are some of the newest things kind of happening or spaces available? Like where are people kind of moving? You said upper like Hudson Yard is where a lot of people are starting to move down towards.
Yeah. Um, it's an interesting time in New York City right now. We're in the middle of this election for mayor, and it's pretty volatile. It's pretty extreme, and a lot of people are a lot of buyers are on the sidelines, saying, I don't want to buy until I know who the mayor is, and
Uh,
if it's can't I don't even like to get into politics, but if certain people win, they're not buying. So right now, I think it's a very slow market, and I think there's a lot of confusion in the market in New York City and as well as the country. But that said, this is the time to buy when there's a lot of confusion and people are not budging, and it's the time to really go in and make a good deal. I think that prices are coming down a little bit, and I am seeing a lot of new developments popping up in Manhattan as well as in Queens and in the boroughs. And if for a first-time home buyer, I think those opportunities are great. Um, because and also the rents are just going higher, and it's ridiculous. The rents are ridiculously high right now. Crazy, crazy expensive. I don't know how young people can do it.
yeah, that's I guess that's part of New York City's allure is like it's expensive, it's exciting, there's a lot going on. That's what attracts a lot of people, but it can be pretty difficult. Much like a lot of things though in life. You got to put in a lot of work, you got to really grind and you got to be smart about a lot of different things too.
Yeah.
So Ellen, I want to be courteous of your time and I know you're busy, you got a lot of things going on and everything, but so I want to ask like if somebody is interested, how do they get in touch with you? Where do they find you? And what does that even look like the whole process of getting started with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Compass, just compass.com, and search for me under agents, Ellen Silverman, or easier, Instagram at Ellen J. Silverman. That's really the best way. You can direct message me, um, or email me, ellen.silverman at Compass, and I'd be happy to walk anyone through the home buying process, and what the requirements are financially. Even if you're not ready, but you want information, I'm always happy to help, and I have a buyer's guide, and I can provide information and put you on my newsletter and start from there. Absolutely.
Awesome. So you guys heard it there. Follow her on Instagram at Ellen J. Silverman. Ask her for that buyer's guide so you get some free content and at least some information. And she said she was totally open to answering any questions, if even if you're not ready to buy. But if you are ready to buy, just reach out and get the conversation started. Simple DM is as easy as it can be, it sounds like. So that's awesome. Very quick and easy. That's how I like things. It's like quick, efficient, and smooth. So I appreciate you coming on, sharing a little bit about your insights and what's going on currently, a little bit on your story and how that's kind of helped craft a successful career and then transitioning into another one. So, Ellen, this was awesome to chat with you. But before I let you go, I want to ask you if you could boil everything down to one piece of advice for those younger individuals out there who are getting into the workforce or starting their side hustle. What would you say is the best piece of advice to help them be successful?
Oh God. Don't give up, and believe in yourself. And well, I'm giving a lot, but and the big one is don't listen to the news and don't listen to the naysayers. There's a lot of crap out there. There's Everyone has an opinion, and I know in the beginning I was giving my power away. This person must know more than me, and that person knows more than me, and I got to listen to Barbara Corcoran, and everybody has their specific path and their way of doing it, and whatever path you're on, trust that. Yeah.
Boom. I love it. That's powerful stuff. I'm always talking about how it's good to follow information and mimic a lot of information, but it's important to stay true to you and really put your own spin on things and believe in yourself too. So I love that. Perfect way to kind of end things. Ellen, thank you so much again for coming on. This was really powerful and valuable too. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, guys, until next time, peace, peace, peace. And that's it for this episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found this valuable, the best way to support the show is to rate and review on Apple or Spotify. It helps get the show in front of more driven individuals just like you, and helps them discover the tools to get unstuck, break through burnout, and build something real. And you can always connect deeper with me, our guests, or grab free resources at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. Whether it's a strategy call, the Prime Performance Personality Quiz, some of our products, or just to check out our free content library, connect with us over at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. And hey, remember this, you weren't meant to just grind. You were built to grow. So stay conscious, stay committed, and keep showing up. Peace, guys.